I didn't get an invitation. Not this time around. Not the previous year. Not in the past decade. The message popped up on a Tuesday. The subject was upbeat, trying hard to feel welcoming. Whitmore Family Getaway 2025. Respond by Friday. It wasn't intended for me. I sensed that prior to opening it, yet I opened it regardless. All of them were included. Camille, naturally, along with her spouse and their 2 children. Aunt Janine from Savannah. Uncle Roger, still sporting that absurd fishing cap in each picture. Even Cousin Lily, the one who took my prom gown and acted innocent about it. But not me. Not even a misspelled variation of me. No Carla. No Clara. Simply a void where I belonged. That sort of rejection doesn't yell. It buzzes steadily and softly, like a refrigerator humming in the distance until the quiet one day alerts you to its absence. I was in my Santa Monica office, encircled by windows, due dates, and diplomas. A prime spot I'd battled to secure. But the space seemed chilly, and no amount of California sunshine could remedy it. I glanced at the email once more, then at my name, absent as if it had never fit. I nearly shut the laptop. Nearly. But an impulse led me to start a new browser window. I entered the name of the seaside home where the gathering had always occurred. A spacious, white-painted residence along the Georgia shoreline, with a porch swing and fairy lights. The final location where I witnessed my dad chuckle before his stroke complicated things. And there it appeared. A fresh advertisement. Not available for lease. For purchase, without a family message, no phone alert, not even a heads up. I scanned every detail. Reduced cost. Eager seller. Title being examined. I knew the realtor, the same lady who managed my grandmother's estate. And in that moment, I sensed a change in the atmosphere. They were disposing of it discreetly, just as they disposed of me, as if I were merely another recollection to discard. But I wasn't furious. Not at that point. I shut the window, pivoted to the shelf at my back. There it sat, the blue-green shell my dad presented to me when I was 9. You think in rhythms of the sea. Clara, he told me, never allow them to diminish you. That's when the concept started to form. They'd remove my name from all the invites, but I hadn't forgotten how to put one down. The reality of being overlooked is that nobody informs you it's occurring. It builds gradually. One unanswered phone. One shared family image excluding you. One vacant chair at the meal where nobody inquires about your whereabouts. Initially, I made efforts. I mailed holiday presents, participated in the group chat while my name was still there, traveled home for Thanksgiving, even if the ticket exceeded my housing cost. I proposed assisting with Mom's home loan when Camille's sons required fresh orthodontics. I fulfilled the role expected of the youngest child. Appear, remain silent, prove helpful. But helpful has its limits. Camille consistently held the attention. She was affectionate, camera-ready, boisterous in a manner folks deemed endearing. She organized baby celebrations with custom drinks, created coordinated shirts for get-togethers, once phoned me from a Michael's store solely to inquire if I preferred teal or coral for the seaside home's table decor. I replied, I don't believe I'll attend that year. She responded, no problem, Clara. We'll hold a portion for you. But nobody did. Following our dad's stroke, I journeyed alone, stayed at the hospital with him while Camille felt too burdened, and Mom couldn't handle viewing him in that state. I nourished him, recited from his beloved Steinbeck novel. When he regained speech, his tone broke. You arrived that winter. I questioned Mom regarding estate arrangements. Not for funds, merely to grasp what would occur with the home. The funds, the trust he'd referenced. She grinned stiffly, stated, Camille and I are handling it. Don't trouble your lovely mind. I ceased inquiring. The final occasion I attempted to stop by the family seaside home, the extra key wasn't beneath the mat any longer. Camille mentioned they'd updated the locks after a burglary, but I hadn't learned of any burglary. I began bypassing celebrations. I dispatched cards that received no responses. I quit fixing their errors when they labeled me occupied or aloof in social media updates. One day, Mom shared a nostalgic image of Camille and Dad on the shore, the dusk at their backs. I recall that image. I captured it. I was right there, beyond the edge. She edited me out. That was the year I halted sending presents, but I didn't halt observing. Savannah, my former neighbor, now employed as a paralegal, still kept me informed discreetly. Captures of screens, fragments, message chains from which I'd been removed. They believe you vanished, she mentioned once. But you've simply been paying attention. I hadn't departed. I was biding time. And often, those who overlook you quickest are the ones most terrified of your return. I didn't acquire the home for vengeance. I acquired it because I'd finished feigning that my non-presence was an error. The ad had been active for 13 days. Subtle. No major reveal. No shared family message, just a discreet sales link hidden in a property bulletin I nearly trashed. The home wasn't even registered under the Whitmore surname anymore. It had shifted to an LLC, likely something Camille established after Dad's death, a facade to keep matters tidy. I understood that terminology. I operated in business planning. I'd encountered that tactic countless times. But I wasn't upset. I was systematic. I produced copies of the papers, contacted a colleague in real estate law, arranged a discussion with Savannah that evening. She performed a title check in less than 10 minutes and uncovered something unanticipated. A provision in the trust linked straight to me. Dad's initial trust included a contingency provision. If the assets entered default, overlooked tax submissions, expired coverage, failure to reveal, the alternate heir, me, possessed complete right to ownership transfer. The taxes had defaulted, as had the coverage. It wasn't mere oversight. It was indolence conceit. Camille and Mom likely figured the home could remain partially utilized, partially asserted until they decided its fate, but Dad had installed a safeguard just in case. Savannah's tone was hushed. If you desire it, Clara, it's yours. No battle required. I didn't respond immediately. I merely gazed at the blue-green shell on my workspace, still whole after all this time. I recalled Dad wiping sand from it, passing it to me as if it were holy. You think in rhythms of the sea. He'd stated, not surges. You return more powerful. That evening, I launched a blank spreadsheet. My personal finances, equity shares, cash reserves, flexible funds. I wasn't affluent as Camille's update suggested, but I'd constructed something stable, understated, and self-reliant. I contacted the ad's agent 2 days afterward. She didn't identify my name until I mentioned Whitmore. Clara, child of Thomas. She hesitated. Oh, you're the additional one. Yes, the additional one. I executed the acquisition papers via the contingency provision. No publicity, no alert. Then I accessed the reservation system and booked one space, the primary bedroom. 3 evenings, arrival Friday. Visitor name, Miss C. Whitmore. In requests, I entered, kindly chill a bottle of Perrier Jouet. Visitor favors supportive cushions, cotton linens, and complete seclusion. When the verification arrived, I didn't grin. I didn't weep. I simply remained motionless. They'd omitted me from the invite. I just included myself on the title. I showed up ahead of time, not to welcome anybody, not to observe, just to view the home once more before they arrived. It appeared tinier than in my memories, or perhaps I'd simply matured. The porch swing remained askew. The window covers required fresh color. Someone had swapped the entry light with an inexpensive solar one, but it still swayed gently in the sea breeze as if it had anticipated my return. I didn't linger long, only sufficiently to verify the bubbly was cooling. The bedding was prepared, and my name was accurately entered in the visitor log. Then I departed. I stationed 2 blocks away in a leased car and held position. At 6:42 p.m., Camille's white Audi entered the drive. Her spouse exited initially, handling bags. The pair of children spilled out after, already quarreling. Camille emerged finally, shades positioned high like a crown. Following was Mom, traveling in the rear of Uncle Roger's SUV. She donned her vacation linens, all white, pearls around her neck. No cosmetics, merely colored balm, the attire of a Southern lady readying for polite refusal. They pulled their luggage to the entry stairs, full of grins and activity. I could detect chuckles, unclear directions. Camille proceeded to the front desk, and then all halted. The reception attendant, a youthful lady with short cropped hair and a regretful grin, delivered the statement like announcing the forecast. Apologies, none of your names appear on the booking. Are you part of Miss Clara Whitmore's group? Camille stared blankly. Pardon, whose group? Miss Clara Whitmore. She holds the entire booking. The name landed like shattering crystal on stone. A hush ensued. Not the type that anticipates speech, but the type that reshapes the space. I exited the vehicle at that point, not for spectacle, simply because the moment had arrived. My shoes tapped on the stone as I entered, composed and assured. I avoided glancing at Camille. It wasn't necessary. I can explain, I told the attendant. I'm Miss Whitmore. The ownership transferred 2 weeks prior. Camille pivoted, her expression taut. You purchased the home? Yes. Mom's tone was gentle, perplexed. But why would you? I regarded her, not enraged, not distant, just concluded. Because I was never asked. But I was never absent. Camille advanced, limb rigid. You find this amusing? You believe commandeering our family outing demonstrates anything? No, I replied. It resolves something. I presented my identification to the attendant. Anyone absent from my list should be courteously removed. But don't be severe, I included nearly softly. They're kin. The attendant paused, then agreed. Behind me, silence reigned. Not Camille, not Mom, not Uncle Roger. The quiet handled it for me. Let them clarify to one another. Let them utter my name. They departed the reception without speaking. No yelling, no abrupt exit, just rigid postures and a hush that followed like vapor. I didn't pursue. It wasn't required. They understood now. That sufficed. Or so I believed. The following day, a broadcast vehicle appeared. I spotted it from the pane, white with blue script, positioned past the bushes. A gentleman in a collared top and excessive hair products stood outdoors gripping a microphone. He peered into the lens as if unveiling a huge controversy. I didn't answer the door, but once the piece broadcasted, my device erupted like an alert. Messages, emails, a recording from a former colleague I hadn't contacted in ages. Is this accurate? Did you truly seize your family's residence via a legal gap while your dad was ill? The title stated, Daughter employs trust provision to evict kin from ancestral estate. They portrayed me as a schemer in stilettos. The article referenced an anonymous family insider who alleged my dad suffered mental deterioration and was coerced into relinquishing his heritage. No identifier, but I didn't require it. Camille had always mastered turning others' compassion into a tool. I absorbed it, didn't shed tears, didn't draft a reply. Instead, I phoned Savannah. Time. I stated she needed no further details. I'll forward the documents in 15. What she provided was precise, arranged, time-stamped captures of exchanges between Camille and Mom, notes that read, no concerns, Clara won't show up again. She turns everything to her. She's too occupied demonstrating something to value kin. Don't regret leaving her out. She's accustomed. There were sound recordings as well. One from a hands-free conversation during a meal. Camille's tone crisp and distinct. Clara was always too delicate to endure in this kin. Let her decay in her apartment. We're improved without. But the key document was the footage from 2 summers past. My dad rested on the rear veranda, limbs covered in a cover, clutching a worn cup. I was next to him, just beyond view. His tone was mild but firm. I wish Clara to possess this spot, he expressed. Camille creates clamor, but Clara creates endurance. I hadn't viewed it since the recording day. I'd preserved it for instances like this. The next day, I transferred all to a protected storage, shared the access solely with one journalist I relied on, someone who'd authored an article long ago on senior support, mistreatment, and legacy disputes. No descriptions, no opinions, just a note. This is the complete account. Determine what counts. It didn't spread widely. It didn't have to. By midday, the initial title was withdrawn. The outlet released a subtle amendment. My messages dwindled, as did the communications. That evening, Savannah messaged 3 terms. They're silent. Prepared? I gazed through the pane at the sea, dark and infinite beneath the lunar glow. Yes, the judicial building reeked of particles and cleaner. I arrived ahead. No group, no attorney in costly attire. Just me. A deep blue outfit my grandmother once termed resolute blue, and a binder secured under my limb. Within that binder was all they hadn't foreseen emerging. Camille was already positioned when I entered in an all-white ensemble, mouth compressed into a stripe so level it could cut cheeks. She didn't pivot, but I noticed her digits drumming on her device, rapid and anxious. Mom was adjacent, back overly erect, pearls quivering faintly with each inhale. She eyed me briefly, then swiftly aside. The official announced the matter, Whitmore against Whitmore, request for restraint on contested assets submitted under assertion of improper sway and senior coercion. Their counsel rose initially, polished, bronzed, too youthful to recall rotary phones. He uttered terms like purpose, susceptibility, warning. He labeled me estranged. He ensured to linger before the term, allowing it to linger. I didn't react. When my opportunity came, I rose deliberately. No drama, just facts. Your Honor, I'd like to present visual and sound proof pertinent to the trust and my dad's explicit purpose. The magistrate assented. His lenses slipped a bit on his nose as the officer lowered the illumination. The footage ran. My dad enveloped in that aged cover, his tone serene. I want Clara to have this spot. Camille creates clamor. Clara creates endurance. She's the sole one who arrived post-incident. The sole one who sought nothing. A break. Then he faced the lens and stated distinctly, it's not regarding equity. It's regarding recollection. I observed the chamber. Mom winked excessively. Camille's chin spasmed. Then the sound. The discussion. Her tone let her decay in her apartment. She was never included in this kin. She should have been simpler to manage. Hush ensued. Not the shocked variety, the accepting variety. The magistrate reclined, struck his writing tool once, twice. This tribunal identifies no basis for the request. The proof affirms mental clarity and straightforward aim from the departed. The phrasing employed by the complainant implies omission, not confusion. He took off his lenses. This tribunal does not mend sentimental injuries. It upholds regulations. And here, the regulations are evident. He struck the hammer. Request rejected. Camille rose, hands balled but motionless. Mom stayed placed, gaze distant but arid. I collected my binder and exited without glancing rearward. On the exterior stairs, journalists lingered. One microphone extended, partial inquiry drifting in the air. Do you have a message for your kin? I halted briefly. No, I stated. I already conveyed it. I just employed softer terms, and I continued onward. The home was hushed upon my return. No bags on the veranda. No sounds echoing from the surfaces. Just the murmur of the waves and the subtle clatter of breeze through the unsteady covers. Within, it appeared identical, but brighter, as if something had been siphoned from the areas. Commotion, perhaps, or evasion. I avoided altering anything initially. I strolled leisurely, traced the texture on the railing, straightened the edge of the carpet in the corridor, allowed the hush to indicate what remained and what had departed. In the study, formerly my dad's, then grandma's, I pulled open the lower compartment of the aged desk, the one they never cleared. Within was the chime we'd crafted jointly. Shells threaded on angling cord, azure string, not slack, my 9-year-old script still dim on one bigger shell. CW. I settled on the ground, limbs folded like a youth, and started disentangling. I didn't repair it for appearance. I repaired it because certain items don't require flawlessness to retain significance. When Savannah showed, she carried vino and absorbent cloths. You didn't assume I'd permit you to declare triumph without polishing panes, did you? She grinned. We labored quietly. Two females erasing more than grime. Erasing eras of disregard. Of being the annotations in another's tale. At dusk, I suspended the chime beyond the cooking pane. It seized the gust as if it recalled the steps. Afterward, as we rested on the veranda, Savannah inquired, "What next?" I gazed toward the distance. They claimed I departed, that I wandered, but I didn't move. I halted. They simply opted not to notice me. We didn't raise glasses. We didn't rejoice. We just remained, two vessels in grasp, observing the ocean shift like respiration. When I extinguished the illumination that evening, I did it space by space from within. If this tale awakened something subdued in you, something unspoken for ages, you're not isolated. There are more like us than you realize. Folks who didn't depart. We were simply never summoned again. If you've ever been excised from your own narrative, drop a remark or merely a term. So the hush doesn't prevail now. We review all,